Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Way of the Warrior. My name is Trevor Martin, and I'm the founder of RMF Coaching, also the host of obviously of Way of the Warrior podcast that I house on my YouTube channel. Now, to give a little bit of backstory to Way of the Warrior, during my coaching, I started hearing some stories that I was like, oh man, you got to share that with the world. People need to hear what you're going through. And so I thought, how can I form an avenue for individuals to be able to share their stories, feel kind of comfortable with that, right? So other people can tune in and go, you know what? That story inspires me. I think I can get through my next hurdle, slay my next giant, so on and so forth. So I launched Way of the Warrior. And so my job is to obviously go out and find warriors on social media, those that are willing to push back against the darkness via light, pushing that goodness back and that kindness into the world via the personal and professional life. Now, it just so happens that I found another warrior, oh man, I'm gonna mess up. Tandrich.
Very
Did I
good.
do it? Yes, I always get nervous. Like as soon as I have it in my head, I repeat it like 17 times, and then I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna say this right. So Kayla, thank you very, very much for joining me today. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Trevor. I'm so proud of you. Even though we just rehearsed this, so way to go. I'm so happy to be here with you, and spend a little time this morning, just to kind of share my story and what life looks like for me.
Perfect. That's so good. Oh my gosh, that's so good. Yeah, we totally did rehearse it. So everybody knows, obviously. We totally rehearsed it. Like I asked specifically how to pronounce your last name. We rehearsed it. We actually rehearsed the opening as well. So obviously we're on a roll here. I'm gonna pause right here because um I love laughter. I have found, and this is totally side railing this or going on a rabbit trail here. But I've found that ever since Charlie was born, Charlie's my 18-month-old girl, I've found that ever since she was born, I laugh like a lot more and my smile gets so big, especially in pictures, that joy that just creeps up. And it's healing. It's healing for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so getting back on track. So thank you for the laughter. Absolutely love that. So getting back on track, let's take us back, right? So take us back to kind of rewind. Let's go and let's dive a little bit into your past year. Talk to us about your journey and a little bit of where you've come from, where you've been.
Sure. Yeah. So, first off, so I am adopted. I was adopted at about 4 months of age. It was a closed adoption. So, all I've ever known has been my adoptive parents, who are great people. Funny enough, I always find this really interesting is so my parents are currently in their mid 70s, but my biological parents would be about like early 50s. So the generation, like kind of teachings that I grew up with could have looked so incredibly different, and that is just wild to me.
That's
Like
crazy,
who would I have been being raised by a totally different generation?
right?
Yeah, like that's like it's so insane. And I really credit like my hard work and my independence to being raised by the baby boomer generation. I think that, my parents really instilled that warrior spirit in me, and that is a big piece of why I am the way that I am today.
I
But
absolutely love that.
yeah, and it's so crazy to like really reflect and think about that piece. And so, life wasn't always great for me. I always joke whenever I speak to groups or do trainings or I'm at conferences, it took me about 32 years to grow up, and I'm 37 right now. So, took a little long. When I was 6 years old, back in 1993, I was diagnosed with really severe ADHD. And so I grew up Catholic. And the Catholic religion, really kind of struggles with, I think, mental health in general, amongst other things. But specifically for me, attending a Catholic school, I was just labeled as the bad kid. She's out of control, stay away from her. And this is messages that a 4, 5, 6 year old kid was getting from
Mm.
adults in her life. So that really set quite the tone, I think, for how I viewed myself, how my peers viewed me, how other adults in my life viewed me. Fortunately, in that school, though, I had one teacher that didn't treat me that way. And she was always kind of that guiding light for me, that really kind of helped me to stay focused and on a path and try to figure out who I was. So I really credit a lot to her. Her name is Mrs. Michelle Kazakowicz. She is still a teacher out there teaching and changing lives today, which is
I'm gonna
so
need to
cool
get
to
her on
me.
the show.
I know. Um, I thought like about reaching out to her and saying like, "Hey, like I made it." And that's something, on
You
my
should.
radar that I might do. But that has definitely been a lifelong struggle, and that essentially has impacted, everything I think that I have done throughout my life. And the thing about ADHD is I think it is a label or a diagnosis that a lot of kids get today just because we don't take the time to really look at how a child is functioning. So, it's slapped on kids, and that might not even be what it is. But unfortunately for me, that is what it is. So my brain works extremely different. And growing up, I had a really hard time with impulsivity and emotional regulation. And still to this day, I think emotional regulation is one thing that I really have a hard time with. And people who are diagnosed with ADHD also have a greater ability to experience trauma and traumatic events, as well as addictions. So it's kind of just like a complete whammy of all of these things that can happen because it's how your brain works.
Mm.
So I'm not saying that, trauma can't affect every person because it absolutely can, but in an ADHD neurodivergent brain, it impacts it differently because of how our brains perceive threats. So it kind of comes down, onto our brains like more intensive, unfortunately. So that is also something I struggle with in my life, is PTSD. So it's, a lot of different things that have kind of culminated and shaped who I was. And I really did not get a good handle on it throughout like my teenage years or even my early adulthood, really struggling with making genuine connections. I was really attention seeking. I just wanted people to love me. And unfortunately, when we do that, we get the wrong kinds of love. And,
Preach.
we attract people who we want to fix, because we feel powerful if we can fix somebody. And, that's very much who I was in the past, very codependent, never really putting myself first and always wanting to take care of other people at my own expense, which then led into really addictive behaviors, and a lot of not so great times. So it's
Yeah.
been kind of a really whirlwind journey throughout my life. And sometimes I just really think like, I don't know how I'm still alive. There's been like really dark times in my life where I never thought that I was going to make that out. And, just really at this point trying to just focus on that I did, because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't, and that's unfortunate. But I do believe that everybody has the capability to change. I just think that people don't want to because it's hard, right?
Absolutely, it's hard. It's 100%. I mean, that's one of the most difficult things ever, borderlining on impossible.
Yeah, absolutely.
To absolutely devote your life, your spirit or your soul, your being, whatever your essence, to that world of change.
Yeah.
To not only making the act of choice, but then following it up with action afterwards. There's a couple things here, some similarities. So I'm actually adopted as well. I was adopted at 4 months old. Um, uh, Born in the great state of Tennessee. Go Big Orange. Obviously, I'm currently in Iowa, so moved north. Um, I had a family, adoptive family, excuse me, that was my adoptive parents are in their 70s as well. Very religious, not Catholic, but Baptist Christian. So yeah, and to go to the ADHD, the comment, that one of the things that hit me that you said was the experiencing, and if I mess this up, correct me. Uh, Actually, I'm just gonna have you say it. The trauma. Say that again.
Mhm.
About the trauma.
So yeah, so people who have neurodivergent brains and ADHD process trauma very differently than those with neurotypical brains. It's
That
like
right,
much more intense. Yeah.
yeah, that right there, really hit home, really sunk in. To hear somebody say that, hey, here's a level that you could experience trauma, and then here's actually an accentuated level that you could hit, that you
Hmm.
can experience trauma, right? That's something that people need to realize, that we know that not everybody's the same. And
Hmm.
the way that you, right, it's just like pain tolerance. The way you experience something may not be the way that the next person does. And that definitely is going to shape somebody's present and then future as they, because the trauma happens in right, in the present, but then the lingering effects afterwards. I mean, how you are isn't changing, right? Where you've been diagnosed, that's not changing. That's still there. That's who you are. So
Right.
you're gonna deal with that trauma in that way at that higher level as you continue to process and break it down and go through
Right.
it, navigate it. It's, I think that one of the things that also stuck out to me was the people pleasing. Um, for a lot of my life, when I was younger, I was bullied. When I was in high school, I was a little skinny little thing. I was bullied a lot, and I just wanted people to like me. I just wanted friends. I draw superheroes in my notebook, like they're my friends. I don't have any friends. To the point where I became so wanting those friends so badly that I'm like, I mean, I guess I'll say or do anything really to fit in a crowd. And like, even if I was almost like the butt of a joke, like, oh yeah, I'll laugh with you, right? But just like I'm part of it, right? To the point where moving forward, actually, once I could figure out I could get bigger and, hit the gym, something flipped inside and I realized, oh, wait a minute, I can be the bully. I can be the one that causes damage. And when I realized what kind of power, sorry, it's a false power, folks, but once I realized what kind of power there was in that, man, I was a glutton for it. And that was
Hmm.
horrible. You talked about, you said that, I think you said that you're 30 something. Is that what you
37,
said?
yeah.
Yeah. So some of the more recent years are like the best years. You're coming into your own. I'm
Right.
44 and I look back and I'm like, I think I started actually being who I'm supposed to be at 40. That's only it's only 4 years. And sometimes I'll admit, and a lot of it it's at the gym when the demons, come out and get their exercise. Sometimes I look back and I go, wow, what a waste. What a waste. I'm 40, or 44, about to be 45 in July, but 4 to 5 years at 40, what have I done? And so part of this, and I'll just say openly here, part of this is selfishly for me, conversations like this are healing.
Yeah.
Conversation like this for me, hearing other people going, "Hey, here's the struggles, here's what I went through." Right? I've talked about before I hit play, like, "Hey, these shows are for individuals that want to hear, and they go, if Kayla did this, I can do it." That's me included. If she can do it, I'm gonna get off the show. I'm like, I got this, right? So,
Right.
anyways, back to you. So you go through this, all of these obstacles and these giants that you've had to slay to get where you are today. Let's talk about a little bit. Let's talk about where you're at today. So you've gone through all of this. You realized, hey, I'm in my 30s. I'm kind of churning along here. Things are looking good. What's that look like right now? What are you doing?
Hmm. Sure. Well, so thankfully, I think, yeah, so January, so I'm about 5.5 years sober now. Yes, which
Let's
is,
go.
it's so awesome. I never, ever thought that I would be sober. I used to, at the height of my drinking, think that I could never not go a day without drinking, which is so wild, to be in this place now where it's been so long. And I'm like, this is amazing. And I really think about, that addiction and that journey. And it is insane to me, And I think that people have, there's a lot of differing opinions about addiction. And for me personally, I think it was always a choice. I chose to take that drink. Nobody, forced that drink into my hand. It was a way that I wanted to feel better, feel something other than what I had felt in that moment. And I think my drinking was really bad when I was in undergrad and college. But that's fitting in. You want to fit in, you want to have fun, you want to be cool. I was in a sorority, like let's party, yeah, live it up, whatever. And then when I had graduated college and got into like a long-term relationship that ended up becoming, in my eyes, abusive. I think the other party would not think that, that's what it was, of course. But that really kicked it up because it was my escape. Because I
Mm.
kind of believe that if I was drunk, it didn't happen, which is so insane. Like, it of course happened, but like
Right.
that was what I told myself. I was like, oh, this is fine. That was my catchphrase. It's fine. Well, it was not fine. I was like blackout Betty, just doing whatever. And I really just hit rock bottom so many times, and I would go a little bit, and not drink, and then like I would accidentally slip up. But there was a point in my life about 5.5 years ago where a really dear friend, somebody I really admire, I love very dearly, said to me, if you take one more drink, I'm never going to talk to you again.
Good
And,
for them.
I was like, I could not lose this person. So like quit cold turkey, didn't like do any kind of like therapy, nothing. I was like, all right, I got to knock this off. I was a, a practicing therapist at that point, family therapist, and I'm like, how can I be such a mess going in and providing therapy to these people? Like that is so hypocritical, So I was like, I have to get myself together. So I really turned that corner. I did get myself in therapy, just stopped drinking, really went on a path of like self-discovery and healing. And it was very hard to stay sober to heal the really hard stuff.
Yep.
I think that really feeling all of the feelings as they are was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And I really feel like the trauma that I have from my life, it will always be a part of who I am. Even though, I'm working on healing it, I don't think that that journey's ever going to end. I think it's going to be a lifelong battle. I think, there will always be times where I'm still triggered because we're human, right? And our brains are so weird. Like anything can, pop out of anywhere at any time and take you back to a place that's dark and it's scary.
It
I
is.
think I shared with you, Trevor, before that I'll have dreams about drinking, and they're so real that I will wake up and I will think that I have regressed and I have drank. Like it's so crazy to me, and like it's scary, and like I hate that, that like nightmare piece, that like trauma response, and it's something that I have not been able to overcome. Like I'm working with a CRNP for my mental health for PTSD, and we've been trying, medication to manage the vivid nightmares. But it's like our brains are so powerful that they like
Uh,
combat everything that you throw at them.
100%.
And it's just, I'm like, you know, like, come on, I need a break. But I will say, with consistent practice of like self-awareness and self-reflection and, doing my own types of therapeutic things, at this point in my life, I feel a lot healthier than I have ever felt. I feel like I'm on a very good path, um, to being like who I've always wanted to be. So I think that, that in a whole is very good. And I don't think I ever would have gotten there without calling myself on my own BS, because I was also part of the problem. It was just not one-sided. Like I kept myself in a situation I kept, staying, and I made choices that, hurt the other person and hurt myself. And I have to own that, and I have to own that I wasn't a really great person. And the person sitting here today is a completely different version of who I was. Like I completely changed like my whole identity, which is crazy.
Hey, I'm right there. I am absolutely right there with you. And I'm gonna kind of piggyback off that a little bit. So we have similar stories. And one of the things that goes along with that change, right? We were talking before that you have to you have to devote your entirety to that change. There's no
Right.
half-ass. There's no like, dip a toe in. No, if you're changing, you're changing.
Yeah.
It's all or nothing. You can't, because to your point, you will go back. You
Right.
will slip back. I think that your story is absolutely not. I know your story is absolutely powerful. And it's truly a testament to what can be done when you say, no, I'm done. This
Mhm.
is not me. I'm changing. One of the battles I faced through the change, my self-awareness journey was probably about 5 to 7 years old. So I get the whole, when you're talking about, like being a therapist, like, oh man, how am I trying to tell other people to get their shit together when I'm clearly a dumpster fire, right?
Mhm.
One of the things that when you make that change, and my family has been, the biggest support of this, or sorry, as I'm mending this, let me switch that up a little bit. Credibility, right? Because you've lived so long like this. I remember I told you how I went from being the bully to a bully to being an absolute asshole to like not caring, not caring about just not caring about people,
Right.
except for my, right? Narcissistic tendencies and all that. So as you make that switch, people start to look at, well, hold on, what's the catch here? And why are you doing this? Why are you now acting like this? I don't believe it. So to your point earlier, like you're all in, and then it's day after day after day after day after, it just lather, rinse, repeat all the
Mhm.
time.
Right.
So as you've been doing that, as you've been moving forward, what are you doing now to help others? And then what's the future look like? Let's go 3 to 5 years in the future. What are you hoping to build into?
Mhm. Yeah. So currently, I am, will have started a new program within my organization, which is really cool. So just like a little like rewind. So when I turned 30, I just said, okay, I had enough of this relationship. That is when I decided I was going to get divorced. So that was in 2018. I was getting divorced. I started a brand new job. I bought my own house. Like when I go big, I go big. Like if we're going to do something, we're going to do something all the way. Like it's not going to be any, we're going to all in or nothing. So I just made all of these huge life changes. And so, with my organization that I'm with, I've been with them since I've made all of those changes. And I'm so thankful to be a part of an organization that really cares about its employees and helps them grow. Because over the past several years, I've had the opportunity to start out as just a therapist, one that they call it. But then I was able to go through some clinical training, and then I became a certified family therapist and a lead therapist in the organization. And then up to the point where we had this really nice opportunity to be able to bring to the agency an innovative idea. So my idea was in thinking and reflecting on my educational experience and how difficult that was for me, how difficult it must be for today's educators with all of these kids coming up through the ranks with increased mental health, pressures of social media,
Preach.
just all of these really stressful things that existed back when we were young, but are exasperated, if I'm using that word right,
100%.
today, so I'm like, I need to take care of today's educators. How can I do that? So I am creating this wellness program for our educators, and it's 1 hour workshops where we talk about mental health, behavioral health, wellness, self care. And it's really just an opportunity to stand in front of a group of people and be like, hey, you matter too. Even though you're a teacher or you're a school counselor or you're a school nurse or an administrator, you are still a person. You get to take care of yourself as well. You have to put on your life mask first, right? That oxygen mask before
Yep.
you're going to go into your classrooms, your offices, and care for, these young people. And it has really been like such a blessing to have all of these conversations with today's educators about they just feel like nobody cares about them, because there's so many pressures on them with standardized testing, with identifying mental health in students, and that's not what they went to school for, with like that mental health, behavioral health piece. So I'm coming in like, hey, I can help you a little bit with this, like let's do mindfulness, let's do gratitude exercises, let's do guided imagery, because those are a lot of the things that have helped me to heal, and if
Yeah.
we can help them get a little bit of that into like their classrooms and, model and coach that for today's young people, I think that we might have a better chance at seeing, the decrease of some of the things that happen, within our school systems.
I applaud this in every possible way that I can. And just, I mean, that if you need support, you obviously got it here. And I know our audience hearing this is going to be like, yes, 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 yes. I'm going to actually just side note here, and I'm saying this out loud, just so I don't forget. But when we're done here, I'm going to send you a couple names that you definitely want to connect with, along your path. Uh,
Mhm.
so as you look, is this journey, what you're doing right now, forecasting in the next couple of
Mhm.
years, is just going to continue to build. I'm correct.
Yes, that is the hope. So, right now it is a lot of pressure to build something from the ground up.
Oh,
Uh,
100%.
you
Oh
know,
yeah.
and especially when you're in an agency where all eyes are kind of on you, which I
Fair.
thrive under pressure, and stress. So I'm like, let's do it. Um, so yeah, it is like really in this beginning stages, hopefully within the next like 3 to 5 years, we're up and running in a lot of school districts that surround me. So I'm in southwestern Pennsylvania. So hoping to branch out because I really want this to be extremely personal and face to face. But
Right on.
recognizing that I would within the next 5 to 10 years like to grow it to a national scale to get this into, other school districts, organizations. So assuming that will have to be virtual because I can't be everywhere, in person at once. I would love to be, but really just trying to make this the best that it can be and continuing to learn from what I'm hearing from the people that are living this life daily rather than telling them what I think they should do, right? I really believe that you need to meet people where they are and that people shut off if you tell them, what to do rather than kind of show them different ways that maybe they can do something, right? So it's just
100%.
really about motivating and inspiring and trying to instill like lasting growth and change into individuals.
Well, I gotta say that last part right there, right, and instilling that growth and that lasting growth and change. It goes back all the way back to when we were talking about our change. You gotta want it, right? You gotta want
Mhm.
it, and then you gotta want it so bad that you're willing to jump all in and take that continuous action.
Right.
So, Kayla, as we close this out, first of all, like I really, really thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. And audience, listen, this is one warrior that you want to have on your roster. Trust me. You've heard the words that have been spoken. You've heard about the action that's being taken, not just now, but to plan action for the future. And I don't know about y'all, but so many times when I get up and I flip my phone on, I look at the news, I'm like, nope, no, I'm not even gonna look at it today. Like I can't, like it's just dark, right?
Mhm.
It's conversations like this that make me go, yeah, we still got hope. There is still hope out there. There's hope out there for future generations as well. So Kayla, thank you very, very much for being one of those, for being a warrior of light, for not only in your personal and your professional life, for coming through and slaying those giants, making that change, that lasting change that you're talking about, not only making it, but making the continuous commitment to keep moving forward. How can people, so as we close this out, Kayla, how can people get a hold of you? What social media are you on, or how can people get you on the roster?
Sure. So I am not really on any social media, and that is because in my old age now, I have become very reclusive and I'm
Okay.
very private.
Okay.
Um, Because like for real, Trevor, I used to be like all over the gram and the Facebook and la di da. But like now I'm like, ooh, you can't find me. But I am on LinkedIn. Um, for anybody that wants to connect. Yeah, but you won't catch me on TikTok or anything like that.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure that bad boy got shut down. I don't know if they were trying to bring it back or what the plan is for that, but I absolutely hear you, and I will put this out there. Please, obviously, when reaching out, and I'm sure all of audience members you will, but please, obviously, be respectful of the individual that you were reaching out to. Make sure those comments and those DMs are professional, right? We like to make sure we steer away from the personal comments, especially as we're going into somebody's personal space. So Kayla, thank you very, very much for taking the time to let everybody know how they can get a hold of you, how they can get you on their roster. Audience members, I encourage you to do so. I really encourage you to get her on your roster because I'm going to tell you right now, she's one of those warriors that you need in her corner or in your corner, excuse me. And Kayla, I will say that I'm honored to have met you. I'm honored to have been able to finally get this bad boy done here. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way, Trevor. And, one thing that I want to kind of leave everybody with is, and this is something that I share in any of my workshops presentation, is that we always have two choices in life. We have the choice to step forward into progress or to step back into safety. And safety can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, both good and bad. But to really challenge yourself, to really grow into the best possible person that you can be, you have to take that step forward.
Oh man. Yes, yes, yes. That's, I mean, enough said. You need to put that on a t-shirt, by the way. You need to put that on a
With my
t-shirt.
face on it.
There you go. Right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and close this out. So, Kayla, thank you for leaving us with that thought. All you warriors out there, make sure you're getting her on your roster and make sure you're hitting subscribe so you don't miss badass episodes like this one. Kayla, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Trevor.
All right, y'all, have a good day. We'll see you next time.